Right, ladies and gentlemen, it's 7:30. Welcome. I'm getting the one behind you. Well, welcome to tonight's executive meeting. The usual preamble: the meeting is being videoed, but the camera is always faced towards us, and so therefore, if you do come up to ask a question, you won't be seen on camera at all. So having said that, moving on to item 24, any apologies? No apologies. So we're all here. Minutes of previous meeting on pages 7 to 18. Do you have any comments, clarifications, or can I sign them off? Okay, thank you. Declarations of interest. Anthony, you want to say something?
I have, yes. I am chairman of Optimus, so therefore I have a non-pecuniary interest in the council and company.
Pauline?
Yes. And my husband is chair of the holding company, so I've got no interest in any companies.
Thank you. Item 26, 27, sorry. Is Liz Slocum here? No. So she will get a written answer for her question. Chaz Hocking, would you like to come up and ask your question, please?
Thank you. Good evening. The proposed trial of the different car parking charges for Woodley is too short. It should be at least a year to iron out any seasonal fluctuations. Can the council change its proposal so that the trial lasts a year?
That's for you, Councillor Richards.
Thank you, Mr. Hocking. The success of the trial will be evaluated primarily against financial viability. Financial modelling was used to predict income from the evening and the Sunday car parking initiative, which will be operating from the 1st of August 2016 elsewhere in the borough. The Woodley trial proposed by the Woodley Town Centre Management Initiative, WTCMI, has been assessed and officers are recommending a trial to March 2017 on the expectation that this alternative proposal will mirror the income of the evening and Sunday parking initiative. Success will also be measured from feedback from local residents, from business, from the members and Woodley Town Centre Management Initiative during that trial period. To ensure flexibility, the trial is proposed from September to March inclusive. Seasonal variations are mirrored across the borough, and it is anticipated that the 7-month period proposed will provide enough comparison data to enable a further executive report, which could include a recommendation to extend the trial period from April 2017, or to make permanent current proposals. That is, should the council be satisfied that the trial has delivered its required outcomes.
Do you have a supplementary?
Yes, I still fail to see how doing a period from August to March does not include all the seasonal variations. You've just said it, and I expect it's because of your financial year, but I disagree with what you say. You should do a year at least.
That will be noted.
But are you going to change it?
I can't say we change it, obviously. That decision is made, but we can discuss it and see what the outcome of those discussions is.
I think, just to add to that, I think what Councillor Richards has said, that the review will be ongoing, and if there isn't sufficient data to prove one way or the other, then the option will be to extend it to a full year or even further. But until we've actually got it up and running and we get the data coming in, currently officers think it's
I agree with you. You need to do it for a decent length of time to get the data to do it. But I accept and I approve that your decision. You had sort of 3 or 4 options, and one of them was to keep it permanently. So that's good.
All right, thank you. Thank you very much. So then we move on to member question time. First one, Lindsay.
Good evening, everyone. I'm not surprised to see a blue sheet with 7 amendments prior on this topic I got a question on. I was wondering whether you'd actually consider removing it from the agenda tonight and resubmitting it. Anyway, my question is, what success criteria have been set to enable evaluation of the Woodley car parking charging trial?
Thank you. Thank you, Lizzie. The answer is as follows. The success of the trial will be evaluated primarily against its financial viability. Financial modelling was used to predict income from the evening and Sunday car parking initiative, which will be operating from the 1st of August 16 elsewhere in the borough. The Woodley trial proposed by the Woodley Town Centre Management Initiative has been assessed, and officers are recommending a trial to March 2017 on the expectation that this alternative will mirror the income of the evening and Sunday car parking initiative. Success will be measured from feedback from local residents, business, members and the Woodley Town Centre Management Initiative during the trial period. And following the evaluation of the trial, a further executive report will be presented in 2017 with an officer recommendation for Woodley car parking from April 2017, which could include extending the trial period beyond April or making permanent the current proposals, should the council be satisfied that the trial has delivered its required outcomes.
I recognise some of the answer.
I'm sure you've got a supplementary.
Right, my supplementary is as follows. If successful, will you offer a trial of the same charging regime to other areas of the borough?
I think the reason we did Woodley this time is that no other towns and parishes were made requests or interested in that trial, but Woodley were, and that's why we're doing the trial there. I'm not aware at the moment of any request for any other towns or parishes to participate, but presumably if that came along, we'd have to consider it.
Thank you. The next question, Beth, would you like to step up and ask your question, please?
I certainly would, Chairman, and my question, of course, is for Charlotte. Given the Conservative government's preference for schools to become academies, we welcome the idea of establishing a member officer working group to explore the possibilities of establishing a MAT to minimise uncertainty, disruption and expense for schools and thus to benefit our pupils. Will you please confirm that the working group will be formed on a cross-party basis?
Thank you, Councillor Rowan, for your question. The reason for setting up an officer member working group is to explore the emerging issues of the white paper, look at the consequences of how our schools, in partnership with the local authority and education services, will function in this new legislative framework, particularly in the context of the continuing reduction in funding to the local authority, which is used to deliver our educational services. To this end, I'm firming up the final terms of reference for this working group, proposed meeting dates, and I'll be sending these out to all members to ask for them to volunteer to participate. Subject to the executive approving this agenda item this evening, you and other members from your group will receive an invitation, I anticipate next week. I'll be looking for members to sign up who are committed to exploring all possible options available to the local authority in the context of the national policy, as well as exploring how we can in the future deliver the very best virtual school model and champion pupils in underperforming schools. Members and officers will also, in the forthcoming months, work with school leaders, many of whom are already engaged in this conversation. It is proposed that the working group will conclude their work in December in order to bring back recommendations to the executive, so there will be a tight timetable for meetings in order to meet this tight timescale.
I'm sure you have a supplementary.
I don't actually, because I agree with every word Charlotte said. So please write this down.
Capture on the video. Thank you, Beth. Right, that's the end of the member question time. So now we move into the formal reports, starting off with the Council and Company business, pages 19 to 26. Again, the usual comprehensive report on all our companies. Just pull out a few highlights. In Optalis, there are 2 new directors that have been appointed, Finance Director and Quality Delivery, which reflects the growing strength of the company to where it starts needing to have those professionals in place. In terms of activity, so if you look on page 21, you see that Optalis is quite busy around this area, working on the Bullmush Extra Care Home scheme from Wokingham, work with the Royal Borough, a tender in Hampshire, and being put on the framework in Buckinghamshire. So again, yet more illustrations that Optalis is definitely being successful, and people are looking to Optalis to provide services outside of our own area. On WHL, I think the main things here are Phoenix Avenue and Foster's progressing, and we're looking forward to those both being completed and fully populated. Really, that was all I was going to draw attention to. If there's any questions, we've got at least one of the chairman here of Optalis. So is there any questions? So all those in favour of the report, please show. That's unanimous. Item 30, revenue monitoring 27 to 36, Anthony.
Thank you. Thank you. Right. We have some growing overspends being projected at the end of the year, except in finance and resources. As you can see on page 28, there has been delays in some savings relating to customer services and digitalisation. Children's services are struggling with some retention, but they have offset a significant amount of that through savings in shared services. Health and wellbeing continue to struggle with homelessness, and but I'm looking forward to this money from the Judicial Review. Sorry, I'm looking forward to this money from the Judicial Review, which has been promised for rather too long and not delivered yet. I'm pleased that the housing revenue account shows a net surplus and shows some reasonable balances, and even more pleased that the housing revenue account shows significant balances of 5 million, and even the schools block shows nearly 500,000, though we are eating away at the reserves there. The council's reserves remain healthy, but we are again beginning to eat into those a little bit, and I'm pleased that the investment portfolio shows healthy balance to finance our capital spending in future years. I'll take any questions.
Charlotte?
So it wasn't really a question, it was just about the point you raised about children's services. It's about the investment in recruitment and retention, which is starting to really show payback in terms of the numbers of social workers choosing to stay in Wokingham, which is really a positive from this investment, and also from the innovation fund that we are part of. Again, is drawing people to work for here rather than for other local authorities.
Julian.
Just to respond on the bit about the judicial review, we are working with our colleagues in West Berkshire and both our MPs, Richard Benning and John Redwood, to try and put sort of pressure on the Department of Health, or just to try and understand exactly where the Department of Health are, because they did promise us a response by Easter. We have slipped somewhat, but now we've got all the changes out of the way. We'll be visiting that.
I think the question is which Easter?
Well, yeah, quite.
Paul.
Just a minor point, just in case Anthony thinks he's immune from it, just to point out that the savings in chief executive and net adverse variances are spread across the whole council. It's not the custom services and IT have not spent. It is that some of the benefits have not yet been delivered across the whole piece.
think you are therefore saying that all of us need to do our bit
Exactly.
to ensure that these savings are delivered.
Thank you. So if there's no more questions. Recommendations are on page 27. There's two of them. All those in favour, please show. That's unanimous. Moving on, capital monitoring, page 37.
Thank you. Yes, the capital programme is a significant one, £147 million. Something like 115 million being spent in the current year on the current profile and 31 spent in the next year. We are on track so far. Most of the, or a significant proportion of children's services money is on new schools, which we need because of our growing population. And a significant amount of money is being invested in the environment arena. So this is good news, and it's good news that the profile of 115 is matched so far by the 113, 140 outturn. So we are 1%, under 1% variance at the moment. So I'm pleased with that. I'm pleased with the way things are going. I'll take any questions.
Any questions? Otherwise, I'll go straight to the vote. So on page 37, it's the note capital management report. All those in favour, please show. That's unanimous. And here again, Treasury Management Annual Report, page 43.
Thank you. I'm afraid for the audience, this is a document that if you suffer from insomnia, I recommend it to you. It's quite a tedious document, but actually quite important because it provides the link between our capital resources and our capital spending and also our borrowing. You can see in page 45 some analysis of capital spending between the reason we separated between HRA and non-HRA is that the housing revenue account is ring-fenced and it is solely responsible for the council house stock that we continue to own. We had to buy back the income from the council houses that the government decided that they owned a few years ago, which accounts for a significant amount of borrowing on the HRA. It's one of those peculiarities of government that you can buy back something you already own. But anyway, that's another one. But it has meant that we have been able to invest significant amounts of money in improving the stock of council houses that we have, making them much more fit for habitation and much more usable and useful by our residents. So that's an extremely valuable service that we perform for some of the more vulnerable members of our community. On page 50, you can see in table 2.1 the capital expenditure we have undertaken and that which we financed and the remaining amount that has been borrowed. You can see how that fits in with the general fund and the HRA on page 52. We have operating limits on page 53. Every local authority is required to set limits on its borrowings. And we are not allowed to borrow money imprudently, and we don't. Moving into page 55, you can see the costs of money on our various debt portfolios. I'm pleased to say that the HRA, which is very long term, is on at under 3%, and the other borrowings are under 4.5%. So that's good news in the current climate. Top of page 56, the performance of our asset management. Again, the in-house team have done much better than our professional fund managers, as is often the case. So I'm pleased to see that continue, and you can see our investments and debt are below that. In connection with the rest of the report, there's a significant amount of information around projected borrowing rates and how they may change in the future. And you can see page 62, again, some percentages relating to interest on investments. And on page 67 and following, you can see the loans that we have as well as who we have loaned money to, and we have loaned a lot of money to other councils, part of this is related to the fact that a number of years ago we, like a lot of local authorities, got caught with investments in Iceland, and since then we have concentrated all our investment in UK and AAA or AA quoted companies, which is why we invest so much with other local authorities, because they're considered to be organisations who don't go out of business. But I will take any questions.
So do we have Pauline?
Andy, I'm just intrigued by the overperformance of the in-house team compared to the professional asset managers outside. That's the second year I've heard that, I think, and maybe the third. I'm just wondering what the mix is between the two and why we use the externals.
It's been a policy we've had for a number of years of spreading risk, and there are, in some years, the externals have performed better, some years one external performed better than the other. Yes, the in-house team does perform well, but I think it's a good idea in the current climate and not to have all our eggs in one basket. And if we have some with some professionals who we can outperform, then that shows that our in-house team are on top of things. But it does spread the risk. I think that's the main answer.
What's the balance?
Sorry, I think you'll see it if you look. Sorry, if you go back to page 36.
You mean 36?
Yeah, I do mean 36. I think I do, yes. We have Aberdeen asset investment, we've got just under 10 million, and at Arland we've got just under 12 million, and the in-house team manage about 34 million.
Okay.
So that's good.
That's why I couldn't find it in this report.
Any further questions? Otherwise we'll go to the vote. On page 43 there's several recommendations. All those in favour please show. It's unanimous. So we now move on to the Woodley car parking trial on page 77. I'll just make an explanation about why you've got the blue sheet. This blue sheet will be attached to the minutes, so it will be a formal record of the amendments, modifications to this report. So I'll hand over to Martin.
As most motorised or motorist residents will know, parking at this precise moment it covers Monday to Saturday from 8 till 6 p.m. And a decision was taken, and the purpose of that cost obviously is to contribute to the cost of car parks and highways in the area. As a result of needing obviously money to continue developing highways, maintenance and so on, a decision was taken earlier to charge for evenings and Sunday parking, and so consultation had to take place, and the idea was to offer that across the borough on evenings, 7 days a week and Sundays. And during the consultation period for that, certain groups expressed concern that this might affect some of their communities, and so the Woodley Town Council Management Initiative came up with an alternative to the evening and Sunday charging, in which they would increase the 1 hourly parking charge in the Woodley car parks. So there are 4 of them, and they would go up from 70p to 80p an hour. And that is the basis of this report here. It's explaining what and why, and some statistics to back it up. So this document makes the case for it, which is that they will run a trial system up until the end of March, and the income and the statistics of car parking between that time would then be compared against the results of the other parking areas elsewhere in the borough. And a comparison we made to see what should happen then. Should the Woodley one continue, be expanded, would they adapt to ours or whatever, depending on clearly which is the most beneficial. And in terms of beneficial, we normally mean obviously a better income. We just need to make sure that the comparisons are fair And that's what this document basically does. It says that this makes the case very well, but there are some minor errors and omissions that need to be corrected. So just to rush through very quickly the points without reading them all in enormous detail. If accepted by the Executive, this will form an addendum to the minutes, so a correct record is lodged in the system. Point number 1 says that this proposal also is lodged as a consultation report from Woodley Town Council. So wherever any references are to Woodley Town Centre Management Initiative, that means both those organisations. The second point is that the outcome and benefits to the community should clarify that financial viability is defined as mirroring the anticipated income from the evening and Sunday charging elsewhere. The third point is that the evening Sunday charges were approved on the 17th of May this year and not as typed, as a typo, as the 31st of March. The baseline survey, the statistics they produced, were carried out on Saturday and Sunday at the end of February. And the Saturday baseline was meant to be representative of the evening usage. However, it is noted that using a Saturday as this usage figure will be a fairly high number. Therefore, the average evening usage is going to be smaller. Table 1, which shows the statistics in the car parks, has an incorrect data for one of the centres in Woodley on Sunday. It indicates 429 space usages and 98% occupancy, and it should have been 236 space usage and 54% occupancy. Last but one point, the financial implications of the recommendation has no indication of how much the proposal will save or cost, or what extra income it will provide. And the expectation is that additional income of 30k in current financial year and 50k in the next and subsequent years is the figure that should be there. And finally, the other financial information relevant to the recommendation and the decision is not as clear as it could be, because it mixes the total forecast budgets for evening and Sunday of 150k with a proportion of that to come from Woodley. And so it's a question of getting the ratios correct. If you're comparing a ratio of one with another, you need to make sure it's over the same sort of time and the same sort of levels for comparison. And the additional income from this trial is also expected to be 50k, thus replacing the evening and Sunday expected income. So those are clarifications of the points which didn't be made. Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm not clear on the last one.
Yeah, it basically, if you read it, you can read it as if the Woodley contribution is 150k. And so what this is saying, it isn't. That's for the whole borough. The Woodley contribution, if we had evening and Sunday charges, would be 50k. It's simple as that. People can misread it. You obviously read it the right way. Other people could read it the other way. So we're just being crystal clear. I agree. Totally agree. Any questions or comments for Marcus? No? Otherwise, we'll go straight to the vote. It's four recommendations, page 77. All those in favour, please show. That's unanimous.
As amended.
As amended, yes. Thank you. So, moving on. Mark, Community Infrastructure Levy Regulation 123, less clarification, page 81.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm asking the Executive to approve a public consultation. This will start the 1st of September for 6 weeks. It's to review the changes to our Regulation 123 list, and that relates to the Community Infrastructure Levy, SIL for short. This is a list of projects that can or may be funded by SIL, and it was adopted February 2015, and this is its first review, and it always needs reviewing. These changes effectively provide insurance that there will be no double counting of SIL and S106 planning obligations, and it will help ensure that site-specific obligations are secured. Simple as that. Thank you.
So, do we have any questions or comments? I will make one comment. I do like the table where it actually tells you exactly why the change. I think that's very informative. and officers should be congratulated on that detail. Thank you.
Plain English.
Plain English.
Thank you.
So, sorry, Angus. Oh, sorry.
Thanks, Sharon. It's just a point, really. I always ask when these things come up. There is the complicated situation with suitable alternate natural green space, otherwise known as SANGs, as to where the money comes from, either Section 106 or from SIL in a different circumstance. The common thing, of course, is that it's not our money anyway. It goes off to look after the spaces, although part of it does contribute to the SANG we created ourselves. But it is complicated. I think this makes it clear for there. I did check it out.
Thank you.
Thank you. So, if there's no other questions or comments, we'll go straight to the vote. On page 81, single recommendation. All those in favour, please show. That's unanimous. Charlotte, St Crispin's School Autism Unit.
Thank you. I'm very pleased to be bringing this report this evening. This unit, should it be approved this evening, will be of great benefit to our community, particularly the students with special educational needs in our borough. Currently, many of our students who have special educational needs can't access education in our local area and have to travel further afield. And should this be approved this evening, then it will mean that there'll be less travelling for them and they'll be able to be educated with their local peers. It's specifically for children with high performing autistic spectrum disorders, and the unit will cater for up to 25 pupils. The budgets set out in paper on page 99 onwards. So in year one, the spend will be 2.4 million, year two, 0.9 million. And it's the revenue cost is through the designated schools grant. The capital allocations have already been set aside for the funding and have been carried forward from 14-15 and 14-16 year. It's proposed to have this unit at the St Crispin's Secondary School, and there's a building already there at the moment which can be adapted, which is where the current sixth form have been educated. And the proposal is to move the sixth form, the current sixth form, into another building at the moment, which will allow for the sixth form at a later date to be expanded should it need to be. The proposal is also for a separate access for the school in Dry and Rances Lane as well. So the recommendations, to be paraphrased on page 97, are for agreeing to the ASD unit to be delegated to the decision to be delegated to create it through through myself and through the Director of Children's Services. The permanent entrance off Rances Lane to the new car park, and to allocate Section 106 funds to this project.
Thank you, Charlotte. Any questions or comments?
Just a suggestion, I presume that the entry from us today is subject to planning.
The planning permission has already been granted for the ASD unit back in May, so
Including access?
including the access and car park.
Thank you, Charlotte. And I think it's a credit to this council for thinking of people with special needs and providing the investment that we need to do it. I think we've got a good track record of that, and long may it continue. So we've got the recommendations on page 97. All those in favour, please show. That's unanimous. Charlotte again, establishing a multi-academy trust.
Thank you very much indeed. So the context of bringing this paper has been the inevitable change which has been happening very recently in the Department of Education. So it started with a white paper earlier on this year, Education Excellence Everywhere, and the changing of the local authority, the role of the local authority going forward. We've also got the funding formula for schools which will be changing with a phasing in of that, and also we've got the Educational Schools Grant again been changed and reducing as well. So that has a major cost implication for us as an authority. For us at the moment, we've been working with our local schools, and currently at the moment we have 30 interested schools who have expressed an interest in joining potentially a multi-academy trust in Wokingham. So what could sit in the trust? There are a number of different things which are outlined in this paper. So, for example, we had a task and finish group in 2015 which looked at school improvement functions which the council currently do. These could be moved over into a multi-academy trust. Our traded services, some of our safeguarding functions for schools, the virtual school, which looks after our education of our children in care, and some of our special educational need and disability functions as well could potentially be moved into this model. We could even, for example, when we need to build a new secondary school, if we wanted to, the trust could decide to commission building a brand new school, for example, because they would be a trust which would be able to be a provider of academies, and therefore they would then be able to do that. In terms of the governance, it's quite important because if we do something like that, only up to 20% of the local authority could be part of the multi-academy trust, but there is a lot of flexibility within it. And you could also levy some charges from it in order to pay for some of the services it provides. I'm bringing this here also because we need to look at different models because of the factors that I outlined earlier. There is a big cost to transferring schools from a local authority school over to an academy, and we have estimated that in order to transfer all of our local authority schools currently as they stand over to academies, it would be in the region of about £400,000 approximately. And also there's the cost to the council in future if schools are no longer local authority schools and they become academies. We also lose money because the business rates change over and they become a charitable status as well. So there's a potential loss of about £1 million in business rates year on year. And I think that's probably about it. But just to sort of say what the task and finish group will look at is on page 106. And the conclusions that they will draw hopefully will come back around about December time, as I outlined earlier to Councillor Rowland.
Thank you, Charlotte. And a couple of questions from me before I throw it open. Is it that working group will be cross-party?
Yes.
And would it potentially have external at all, or would it be purely council?
We will reach out to people who we need expertise from. So at the moment we are officers have been working with our schools in order to find out who is interested. As I mentioned, 30 schools have been expressed an interest, and we've had several meetings already with those schools to talk about how we move forward. So I would like the working group to also have that dialogue with those schools as well. But it's going to be a very tight time frame, but we must make sure that everyone is engaged with. So something is not cooked up in Wokingham in the office here, and then it's not brought into by everyone who would be part of that multi-academy trust. It must be a partnership. So I'm very clear about that.
Thank you, Charlotte. Any questions? Anthony?
I'm intrigued by two numbers. The 400,000 cost. If we have it at Academy Trust, does that amount go down, disappear? Do we pay it to the trust and then pay it to ourselves? The second question is 1 million for 1.1 million or 1.8 million for business rates, I think you said. Do we, again, if we have this model, do we still lose it? Do we get it back? How does it work?
The government policy is that schools move towards academies. So if they all move towards academies, then you would they would, once they become academies, you lose the business rate. It reduces to become the schools become a charity. So they then pay less business rates. So the overall effect of if they all become academies is that you lose £1 million worth of revenue. There's nothing you can do to prevent that unless they all stay as local authority schools. But the problem is if they all stay as local authority schools, we don't have enough revenue to support all of the services that we need to support them with in terms of the school improvement, all of the other things that I was talking about, some of the traded services that we provide, the virtual school model, and some of the special educational needs functions. All of the things that we do in the educational services that we support schools with. The second figure that I mentioned, the £400,000, £400,000, yeah, that is a figure which is the cost to the council for helping them move from local authority status school over to academisation. So if some of them converted, but not all of them converted, then that would be less. But because there is an estimated amount that it costs for legal fees, etc., to do that conversion. But I've written to the Secretary of State to express this extra cost, this extra burden upon us as a local authority to do that. I have not had a very positive response back from Lord Nash, so we will be writing back again to say, as a very poorly funded local authority, we think that you should help us for the change in legislation to give us some money to support this. And also because we are pushing ahead in the spirit of the white paper and doing exactly as they would like us to do, and I think that we could do something exciting here and be a bit of a pilot. So I think that they could be a little bit more generous.
Can I just come back on that? So if we have the multi-family trust, then we can convert them in as a bulk job lot, so to speak, and that presumably won't cost as much.
I still think that the anticipated costs would be in that region because there's lots of nuances from school to school, and they still all need to convert. So
I think we'll have some savings, but we need some savings for a bulk purchase.
I think we've been quite conservative with our costs.
And my other question is, if we lose the business rate, but the schools get more money that they didn't have because they're not spending the business rate that they were spending before, so they can afford to buy services from us that we can't afford to supply because we don't have enough money, but they now have more money so they can pay more for our services.
The answer is that they're in the context now of reducing funds because the educational service grant is going down.
Right.
They're getting top sliced. The funding formula changes are coming in. At this moment in time, they've had one consultation in terms of the funding formula and how much they will be getting. It's not necessarily going to be positive. We are the worst funded in terms of our school places and how much each pupil is allocated. The central government may look at that and say, well, if you can do it for that much, everyone else in the country can do it for that much, and we may not get any extra benefit from the funding formula changing. So I don't see that our schools will have much benefit from the reduction in their rates.
But presumably we will lose that money ourselves.
Yes.
Yeah, sounds like it.
Does the government
Yeah.
pay it?
The government gets it.
Okay, any other questions for Charlotte? Otherwise I'll move to the recommendation on page 103. All those in favour, please show. That's unanimous. Sorry? Yeah. Brilliant. Thank you. Mark, local development scheme. I think this is fairly straightforward, isn't it?
I hope so, Jen. Thank you. This local development scheme, LDS for short, amendment is principally to lengthen the consultation phase. It retards the whole scheme by about 12 months. Although this is not ideal, as we want to put our new plan into place as soon as possible, it's essential for the consultation. It's essential that the consultation is adequate. And legal advice received is that this is a sound move towards a successful examination of our local plan updates. It also gives us a chance to roll in our Gypsy and Traveller local plan, and also update, yes, very topical, and also update our minerals and waste local plan. And in fact, hot off the presses, the Berkshire leaders have agreed to commission Hampshire County Council to produce a minerals and waste local plan on our behalf. and also to set up a joint Berkshire-wide committee to oversee such. And this will need future executive sign-off. So please can I have your approval that the updated local development scheme be effective from tomorrow, 29th of July. Thank you.
Thank you, Mark. Angus would like to say something on the minerals, which is in your portfolio.
Yes, indeed. Thanks. I'm absolutely delighted that we are moving on that now.
Yes.
Especially because West Berks went alone and are already consulting, and we've got something coming back on that with an IMD soon. So I'm delighted that we've joined together with other councils, and we've got the experience of Hampshire to help us. And, I'll be very glad to support all that.
Thank you.
Okay, Anthony?
I noticed you're spending 960,000, and we have a special item of 800,000. So are we mopping up the extra 160 from within your budget, or will we be needing to top you up?
I've been absolutely reassured. Where's the 900 then? I haven't spotted that. I've been absolutely reassured.
Mark, I think you're not on.
Oh, sorry. No, I'm not. Yeah. The budget is the same budget. It's extended for twice the period, and we're actually £40,000 under budget predicted. So just take that one, please.
It's happy then.
Well, there you are.
Any other questions or comments? No. Move to the vote on page recommendation. 109. All those in favour, please show.
Thank you.
Unanimous. Mark again. Local plan update issues and options. Page 125.
Right, I'm glad these two items are together. Tenuous link, straight on to our local plan update, issues and options. Here's our first chance to gain public opinion on how we want our borough to develop to 2036. So I'm asking you to approve the issues and options report for consultation. Consultation will run from the 5th of August to the 30th of September for an 8-week period. Together with the supporting documents, and this document here in black and white doesn't do it justice. It looks great in full Technicolor, and also we just need authorisation, and the Director of Environment sat alongside me here and myself will just agree any minor changes, and those minor changes that will be non-material, sort of such as rewording and correction and typing errors. So yes, please, if I can have that recommendation.
Any questions, comments for Mark? Okay, I'll move straight to the recommendation on page 125. All those in favour, please show.
Thank you.
Thank you, that's unanimous. I think it's the last one. Health and Safety and Work Annual Report. Colin?
Thank you. As it says on the tin, this is the annual report about health and safety, both covering the operation of the Borough Council itself and also the schools. To make it clearer, we've split out schools from the council health and safety and given two separate reports so you can see the figures more clearly. Generally, the report is good news, although the number of incidents reported in schools is increasing. We had a very low number of reports a couple of years ago, with a lot of effort into making sure the schools actually report incidents, even if it's non-injury incidents, as they use it as part of the process for managing school children's behaviour as well. So the number of reports is increasing in schools, but the number of serious reports is actually decreasing in schools. Generally, the overall trend is good news, and a lot of the things are very, very minor, including things that don't cause injury. So, if anybody's got any questions?
Any questions or comments for Pauline? It's good news that the trend is the right direction. So, recommendation on page 173. All those in favour, please show. That's unanimous. And we've reached the end of tonight's meeting. Thank you everyone for attending, and see you next time.